I want you to picture something. A man on his knees packing his life into cardboard boxes. His wife sitting on the kitchen counter, glass of wine in her hand, smiling. That man was me, and I was holding back a laugh. See, my ex-wife thought she had won. She thought watching me wrap my grandmother's dishes in newspaper was her victory lap. She thought the house was the prize. But here's what she didn't know. That house wasn't a prize. It was a trap. And I had spent 4 months making sure she would walk right into it. So, let's get into my story. I know some people are big on names, but my name doesn't matter for this tale. What matters is that I was married for 11 years, to a woman I thought I knew. My name is Ryan Cooper, and this is how I let my ex-wife destroy herself. We met at a construction industry mixer in Dallas, got married at 24, bought a house in a developing subdivision outside Austin when we were 28. The house was my idea. A 3-bedroom ranch style in Cedar. Park, good schools, half-acre lot. The whole Texas dream package. Sarah loved it from the moment we walked through the front door. And for a while, it was good. We were happy, or at least I thought we were. But here's the thing about happiness in the construction business. It makes you blind to the cracks in the foundation. It makes you miss the signs that the structure is failing, and by the time I saw the signs, she had already been sleeping with another man for 6 months. I didn't catch her with some fancy technology, no phone hack, no hidden camera. I caught her the old-fashioned way. I noticed things. Things that don't add up when you spend your days managing 15 guys on job sites and your nights coming home to a wife who's suddenly never there. It started with the small stuff. She was working late more often, but her paychecks weren't getting bigger. She was buying new clothes, but I wasn't seeing them. She was protective of her phone, taking it everywhere, even to the bathroom for 30 seconds. And then there was the truck. See, when you're a construction foreman in Austin, you know every contractor's truck in a 30-mile radius. You know who drives what, who's reliable, who's not. And I started seeing the same beat-up Ford F-150 at our grocery store, at the coffee shop where Sarah got her morning latte, parked 2 blocks from our subdivision on random weekday afternoons. The truck belonged to Kevin Walsh. I knew Kevin from the industry, a general contractor who talked big about flipping houses, but never seemed to close any deals. The kind of guy who shows up to job sites in expensive boots he can't afford, driving a truck that's held together with duct tape and desperation. Let me tell you more about Kevin's track record because understanding his incompetence is crucial to this story. In his 5 years as a contractor, he'd attempted 3 house flips. The first one, a foreclosure in Pflugerville, he bought for $85,000, put $40,000 into renovations, and sold for $110,000. Lost $15,000 plus 6 months of his time. The second flip, he ran out of money halfway through the kitchen renovation and had to sell it as is to another investor. The third property, he never even started. Couldn't get the construction loan approved because his credit was already shot from the first 2 disasters. But Kevin had a gift for talking. He could make failure sound like strategy, make incompetence sound like bad luck. He'd tell anyone who'd listen about the corrupt system that kept small contractors down, about how the big builders had all the advantages. What he never talked about was showing up to job sites hungover, leaving work half-finished, or promising completion dates he couldn't meet. I'd worked with Kevin twice over the years, once on a commercial renovation where he was supposed to handle the electrical rough-in. He showed up 3 days late, did the work wrong, and cost the project a week when the inspector red-tagged his installation. The second time, I hired him for some concrete work at a residential build. He mixed the ratios wrong, and we had to jackhammer out an entire driveway and start over. Both times, he blamed everyone except himself. This was the guy my wife was getting financial advice from. I'm not stupid. I know what those signs mean, but I didn't have proof. And without proof, you're just a paranoid husband, a controlling husband, the bad guy. So, I did what I believe most smart men would do. I hired a professional. I found a private investigator through a lawyer friend. Didn't tell him why I needed one, just said it was for a business matter. The PI was a retired Austin PD detective, mid-50s, went by Danny Rodriguez. He charged $80 an hour plus expenses. I paid him $20,500 up front in cash. Told him I wanted to know where my wife went when she wasn't with me. He didn't judge, didn't ask questions, just said I got it and said he'd be in touch. Danny had worked white-collar crime for most of his career before retiring. Corporate fraud, embezzlement, insurance scams. Following cheating spouses was probably the easiest money he made. 2 weeks later, I got an email. Subject line, report ready. I opened it at my desk at the construction office, and my whole world cracked like concrete in a Texas freeze. The report was 8 pages. Photographs, timestamps, license plates, locations. My wife had been meeting Kevin Walsh at a hotel off Highway 183 near the industrial corridor every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon. She would arrive around 1:30 p.m. He was already there waiting in his beat-up Ford. They would walk in together. She would stay for 2, sometimes 3 hours. Then she would leave, stop at Home Depot on the way home, buy something small, light bulbs, cabinet handles, an alibi purchase, something to explain where she was. Just picked up some stuff for the house, honey. Yeah, sure you did. The photographs were crystal clear. Her Honda Civic in the parking lot, his beat-up Ford next to it, the two of them walking into the hotel together, his hand on her lower back, him holding the door for her. One photo showed them kissing by the hotel room door, not even trying to hide it. She just didn't think she would get caught. Danny had run Kevin's plates, gave me everything. Kevin Walsh, 34, general contractor, lived in an apartment complex off Palmer Lane. Credit score in the toilet, 3 months behind on his truck payments, had been evicted twice in 5 years. The guy couldn't manage his own finances, but my wife was trusting him with advice about our future. What really got me was the financial background Danny had pulled together. Kevin's business license was current, but his contractor's bond had lapsed 6 months ago. His insurance was the bare minimum required by law, and even that was 2 payments behind. The state licensing board had 3 complaints against him for incomplete work, and he'd been sued twice by homeowners for shoddy renovations. This wasn't just a guy having an affair with my wife. This was a complete failure masquerading as a professional, and Sarah was eating up every word he said about real estate and construction. I sat with that report for 3 days. I didn't confront her. I didn't call her out. I just watched her lie to my face. Working late on the Riverside project. No, you're not. Meeting with the architect about the Henderson build. No, you're not. Traffic was horrible coming back from the site visit. No, it wasn't. Every lie she told, I cross-referenced with Danny's timeline. Every single one matched up. She was good at lying. She'd been practicing for months. But I was better at planning. A lot of guys in my situation would have confronted her that night, would have thrown the report on the table, screamed, cried, demanded answers. That's the movie version, but the movie version gets you nothing. The movie version gets you arrested when you drive to his apartment drunk. The movie version gets you destroyed in divorce court because you couldn't control your emotions. I wasn't going to be that guy. So I put the report in my office safe and I started planning. The first thing I did was examine our loan structure. See, I handled the finances in our marriage. Sarah never cared about the details, never asked questions about the paperwork. She just signed where I pointed and assumed everything was handled. And it was handled, just not the way she thought. When we bought the house 4 years earlier, we'd gotten a construction loan that converted to permanent financing. But here's the thing about construction loans that most people don't understand. They're designed for builders who know exactly what they're doing, not homeowners who think they're getting a deal. Our loan was structured as an 18-month interest-only period, followed by a balloon payment that required refinancing into a traditional mortgage. The idea was that we'd use those 18 months to build equity through home improvements, then refinance based on the increased value. That balloon payment was $180,000, due in exactly 4 months from the day I got Danny's report. Here's what made this situation perfect. When we'd originally qualified for the loan, my credit had some dings from a business partnership that went south in my 20s. Nothing criminal, just a commercial real estate deal, where my partner defaulted and left me holding half the debt. It took me 3 years to clean up that mess, and it was still affecting my credit score when we applied for the house. So, the loan officer, a sharp guy named Patrick Stevens, who specialized in construction financing, looked at both our credit profiles and suggested putting the loan in Sarah's name only. Her credit was pristine, 780 score, stable employment history, no late payments ever. The loan in her name would save us almost 2 full percentage points on the interest rate, which meant about $300 less per month in payments. At the time, it bothered me. Felt like I wasn't pulling my weight, like I was just along for the ride. Sarah reassured me it was just paperwork, that we were partners in everything. I was on the deed as a co-owner, but the mortgage, the actual debt obligation, was 100% hers. Turns out it was the best financial decision I never knew I was making. Patrick had explained the balloon payment structure carefully during our closing. We'd signed a disclosure that spelled it out in plain English. Borrower acknowledges that the full remaining principal balance of $180,000 will be due on September 15th, and the failure to refinance or pay this amount will result in foreclosure proceedings. I remembered that meeting clearly. Sarah had been distracted, checking her phone, asking when we'd be done so she could get back to work. She signed every document without reading it, trusting me to handle the details. When Patrick explained the balloon payment, she just nodded and said, "Ryan's got all that figured out." That was 4 years ago. Now, with 4 months until the balloon payment came due, I realized I had the perfect weapon sitting right there in our loan documents. So here was my situation. My wife was cheating on me with a contractor who couldn't afford his own truck payments. A divorce was inevitable, and in 4 months, whoever owned that house was going to need to qualify for a $180,000 refinance to avoid losing everything. Most people would see that as a problem. I saw it as an opportunity. All I had to do was make sure she got the house in the divorce, then step back and let the calendar do the work. Now let me tell you more about Kevin Walsh, because understanding him is crucial to understanding why this worked so perfectly. Kevin had been in construction for 5 years, but calling him a contractor was like calling a guy who burns toast a chef. He'd gotten his license during the Austin construction boom, when work was so plentiful that even incompetent contractors could find jobs. But Kevin never learned the difference between getting work and doing work right. His business model, if you could call it that, was simple. Underbid every job, take deposits up front, start multiple projects simultaneously, then scramble to finish whichever client screamed loudest. He'd leave one job half done to start another, always chasing that next deposit to pay for materials he should have bought weeks earlier. I'd heard stories about Kevin from other contractors. There was the kitchen remodel in Westlake where he installed cabinets so crooked the homeowner's coffee cups slid off the counter. The bathroom renovation in Georgetown, where he plumbed the shower wrong and flooded the house twice. The deck addition in Round Rock, where the structure failed inspection 4 times before the city finally revoked his permit. But Kevin's real specialty was talking his way out of responsibility. Every failure was someone else's fault. The cabinet manufacturer shipped crooked units. The plumbing supplier gave him bad fittings. The city inspector had it out for small contractors. Kevin never met a problem he couldn't blame on someone else. The guy was driving that beat-up Ford because no bank would finance him a newer truck. He was renting that apartment because no mortgage company would touch him. His tools were mostly Harbor Freight specials because he'd pawned his good equipment to make rent. But he wore those expensive boots and talked like he was Donald Trump's construction consultant, and my wife believed every word he said. I did some more digging on my own after Danny's report. Kevin's social media was a goldmine of delusion. He posted constantly about his real estate empire and disrupting the construction industry. He shared articles about successful contractors and added comments like, "This is exactly my strategy," and finally someone who gets it. But if you looked past the talk, the reality was obvious. His business Facebook page had 3 5-star reviews, all from the same fake account he'd created. His contractor profile on Angie's List had a 2.5-star average with complaints about incomplete work, cost overruns, and poor communication. His Better Business Bureau rating was an F, with 6 unresolved complaints in the past 2 years. This was the guy Sarah was getting advice from about our financial future. Here's what I think happened. Sarah met Kevin on one of her job sites. She coordinated projects for an architectural firm, so she dealt with contractors regularly. Kevin probably showed up to bid on some work, started talking about real estate opportunities, dropped some industry terms he'd learned from YouTube, and Sarah thought she'd found someone who understood her world. What she actually found was a master manipulator who could smell opportunity, like a shark smells blood. Kevin saw a married woman with a steady job, a nice house, and a husband who worked long hours. He saw someone lonely and looking for excitement, someone who might be impressed by construction talk and real estate dreams. The affair probably started innocently. coffee meetings about investment opportunities, text messages about market insights, maybe a lunch where Kevin shared his expertise about flipping houses. Sarah, who had never paid attention to our finances, probably thought she'd discovered someone who could help her understand the world of real estate that her construction foreman husband navigated every day. But Kevin's real talent wasn't construction. It was manipulation. He knew exactly what to say to make Sarah feel smart, sophisticated, like she was missing out on opportunities her husband wasn't showing her. He probably told her about deals he was working on, properties he was going to flip, investments that would make them both rich. All lies, of course. Kevin couldn't afford to invest in a candy bar, let alone real estate. But Sarah didn't know that. She just knew that her husband came home tired and dirty from construction sites, while Kevin talked about million-dollar opportunities over wine at nice hotels. The divorce proceedings started in February and took 6 weeks. Lightning fast for Texas. But that happens when you don't fight anything. I made sure we agreed on everything because fighting would have meant delays, and delays meant Sarah might figure out the balloon payment situation before September. My lawyer, a sharp guy named Craig Martinez, who specialized in construction industry divorces, thought I'd lost my mind. "You're entitled to half the equity," he kept saying. "You should fight for the retirement accounts. You should at least make her buy you out of your interest in the house." I just shrugged every time. Told him I wanted it over with. Told him she could have the house. Told him I was ready to move on with my life. Craig looked at me like I was having some kind of breakdown, but he did what I asked. And when the final decree came through in late March, Sarah got exactly what she wanted: the house, the equity, and all associated responsibilities, including that balloon payment due in exactly 5 months. Here's the part that still makes me smile. Sarah's lawyer, Patricia Wells, actually tried to warn her. I know this because it came up during our settlement negotiations. Patricia had reviewed all our financial documents as part of the discovery process, and she'd spotted the balloon payment clause buried in the loan paperwork. "You need to understand what you're taking on," Patricia told Sarah during one of their meetings. "I know because Craig was there when it happened. This isn't just equity, it's a significant financial obligation due in September. You'll need to refinance or sell before that date, or you'll owe the full $180,000 balance." But Sarah didn't listen to Patricia's warning because Kevin had already told her what the house was worth. "Babe," I heard Kevin tell Sarah one evening in April when I came home early from a job site and they didn't know I was there, "that house is worth $420,000. Easy. Maybe more in this market. You're sitting on $240,000 in equity, minimum." I stood in the garage for a full minute, listening to this financial fantasy. See, the house was worth maybe $360,000 on its absolute best day. And that was before you factored in the $180,000 balloon payment due in 5 months. But Kevin didn't know about the balloon payment, and he sure as hell didn't know how to properly evaluate real estate. Kevin's expertise came from scrolling through Zillow and watching house flipping shows on HGTV. He thought property values worked like stock prices, always going up, never coming down, and available to anyone smart enough to jump in. He'd probably looked at comparable sales in our neighborhood, seen that one house sold for $400,000, and decided that meant every house was worth that much. What Kevin didn't understand was that the $400,000 sale was a renovated home with $80,000 in upgrades, sold to cash buyers in a bidding war. Our house was nice, but it was builder-grade finishes on a standard lot. It needed a new roof within 2 years. The HVAC system was original to the house, and the flooring was showing wear from 4 years of living. But Sarah believed Kevin's numbers because she wanted to believe them. She wanted to think that the house she'd won in the divorce was a gold mine, that leaving me was not just emotionally satisfying, but financially brilliant. Kevin was telling her exactly what she wanted to hear. By the time the divorce was final in late March, Kevin had basically moved into my house. His beat-up Ford was in my driveway every night. His tools were scattered across my garage, and he was walking around like he owned the place. Sarah didn't have to hide anymore. Everyone knew about Kevin now, and she was enjoying the freedom. Moving day was the performance of my life. I looked defeated, shoulders slumped, moving slow, packing boxes like each one weighed 1,000 pounds. Sarah sat on the kitchen counter with her wine, watching me pack up my grandfather's tools, probably thinking this was her moment of triumph. Kevin was there too, measuring walls, talking about renovation plans. "When we knock out this wall between the kitchen and living room," he told Sarah, "it'll open up the whole space. Then we add granite countertops, maybe a kitchen island, some crown molding. This place could be worth $500,000 when we're done." I almost laughed out loud. Kevin was planning a $60,000 renovation with money he didn't have, on a house that was about to be worthless, based on a market valuation that was pure fantasy. But I just nodded and kept packing. "Sounds like a great plan," I told him. "You guys are going to do amazing things with this place." Kevin smiled like he'd just been validated by a peer. Sarah beamed like she'd made the smartest decision of her life. And I loaded my truck with my grandmother's china, knowing exactly what was coming in 5 months. My new apartment was a 1-bedroom in a complex off South Lamar. It was basic, generic, the kind of place you rent when you're starting over. The carpet was that industrial beige color designed to hide stains. The walls were thin enough to hear my neighbors' conversations. And the parking lot always smelled like fried food from the restaurant next door. But here's the thing. I didn't mind it, because I knew it was temporary. Because every day that passed brought us closer to September 15th, and I knew exactly what would happen when that date arrived. The divorce finalized in March. The balloon payment was due in September. That gave me 6 months of watching the calendar, 6 months of getting my life back together, 6 months of waiting for the inevitable. I used the time well. Started working out again at a gym near the apartment, lost 20 pounds and felt better than I had in years. Started sleeping through the night because I wasn't living with someone who was lying to me every day. Started enjoying my work again because I wasn't coming home to stress and deception. During those months, I kept tabs on what was happening at the house through the construction network. Austin's building community is tight. Everyone knows everyone, and word travels fast about what contractors are doing where. I heard Kevin had moved in completely by May. Heard they were talking about getting engaged. Heard Kevin was telling people around town that he'd found his perfect partner, someone who understood real estate and supported his vision. What I also heard was that Kevin had started 3 different renovation projects at the house and finished none of them. He'd torn out half the kitchen backsplash and left it that way for weeks. He'd started framing for the wall removal but hadn't pulled permits. He'd ordered granite countertops that sat in the garage because he couldn't afford the installation. The guy was playing house with materials he'd bought on credit, creating a construction mess that was reducing the home's value instead of increasing it. But he kept telling Sarah they were investing in their future and building equity through sweat equity. Summer passed like a slow burn. June, July, August, I got promoted to senior foreman, managing multiple job sites across the Austin metro. Started dating a little bit, nothing serious, just getting back into the world. Met a nice teacher named Michelle who liked hiking and didn't ask too many questions about my divorce. Life was actually good, better than it had been in years. And the whole time, that September 15th deadline sat there like a thundercloud building on the horizon. You can see a financial disaster coming from miles away when you know what to look for, but you can't stop it once it's in motion. August 30th, 2 weeks before the payment was due, I got a text from a buddy who worked commercial electrical. Kevin's Ford had broken down again, this time for good. The transmission was shot, and he was trying to borrow money for a replacement engine. Couldn't get financing anywhere. His credit was worse than ever after 6 months of missed payments and maxed out credit cards from the house renovations. September 5th, 10 days until the deadline. Another text from a different contact. Sarah and Kevin had been fighting about money. Loud arguments in the driveway. Something about mortgage payments and refinancing. Neighbors were starting to notice. September 8th, a week out. The construction gossip network was buzzing. Kevin had approached 3 different contractors about partnership opportunities, trying to get someone else to invest in his renovation projects. Nobody was interested. Word was getting around that Kevin Walsh was desperate for cash. September 10th, 5 days before the balloon payment came due. Kevin's beat-up Ford was gone from the driveway. His tools were gone from the garage. Nobody had seen him in 2 days. I knew exactly where he went. He went wherever broke contractors go when they realize the woman they're with has more debt than assets, more problems than solutions, and more financial obligations than he could handle with 1,000 lifetimes of his incompetent contracting work. September 14th. the day before the payment was due. I slept like a baby for the first time in months. Not because I was happy about what was coming, but because the waiting was finally over. Justice was about to be served, and I wouldn't have to lift a finger. September 15th, 7:23 a.m. I was at the gym, 30 minutes into my cardio routine, when my phone started ringing. Sarah's name on the screen. I let it ring. She called again immediately, then again. By the fourth call, I was smiling despite myself. The woman on the treadmill next to me asked if I was getting good news. Something like that, I told her. On the fifth call, I answered, "Why is the bank threatening foreclosure?" Sarah's voice was shaking, all the confidence stripped away. "Ryan, they're saying I owe $180,000 today, or they're taking the house. What is this? What's a balloon payment?" I paused, let the silence stretch out like rebar cooling in the Texas heat. "Sarah, I told you to read the loan documents when we signed them," she started yelling. Something about how I'd tricked her, how I'd hidden this from her, how I'd set her up to fail. I let her get it all out. Then I said the words I'd been rehearsing for 6 months. "Your lawyer explained the balloon payment to you during the divorce proceedings. Patricia Wells told you exactly what you were taking on. You chose not to listen because Kevin told you the house was worth more than we owed. That's not my problem anymore." Dead silence. She didn't know I knew about that conversation with Patricia Wells, but I knew about everything. You wanted the asset, you got the liability. You wanted to trust Kevin Walsh over experienced professionals. You wanted to believe in get-rich-quick fantasies instead of reading contracts. That's how adult life works, Sarah. Then I hung up and blocked her number. The next few weeks were chaos for Sarah, but peaceful for me. I heard everything through the construction network because bad news travels fast in any small community. Kevin was officially gone. Turns out he wasn't interested in a woman with $180,000 in surprise debt and no way to pay it. Turns out he wasn't the financial genius he'd pretended to be. Turns out when reality replaced fantasy, he disappeared faster than his fake expertise. Sarah tried everything to save the house. She applied for refinancing with 8 different banks. None would approve her. Her income alone wasn't sufficient. Her credit had taken hits from missed payments during the Kevin chaos, and the house wasn't worth what she needed to borrow. She tried to sell the house, but Kevin's half-finished renovations had actually reduced its value. The torn-out kitchen, the unpermitted wall demolition, the granite countertops sitting unused in boxes, it all made the house look like a construction disaster instead of a dream home. Even if she'd found a buyer at full asking price, she still would have owed money at closing after paying off the balloon payment, the remaining mortgage balance, and the home equity line Kevin had convinced her to open for the renovations. The bank gave her 60 days to come up with the money. She couldn't. They started foreclosure proceedings in November. In Texas, that process moves efficiently when there's no equity to protect. About 10 months after I'd moved into that basic apartment, the house went to auction on the Travis County Courthouse steps. Some investor bought it for $280,000, probably 70 cents on the dollar, planning to finish Kevin's botched renovations and flip it properly. I didn't go to the auction. I already knew how it would end. Here's the truth about what happened next. I didn't buy the house back. I didn't want those memories, those lies, that history. Instead, I took my inheritance, $220,000 from my grandfather's ranch sale, money Sarah never knew existed, and bought a better house in a better part of Austin. A house with no history, no balloon payments, no Kevin Walsh renovations. A house that was just mine. I saw Sarah one final time, about 18 months later, at a restaurant in South Austin. She was with another guy, different truck in the parking lot, same contractor look. She spotted me across the room, and for a moment, we just acknowledged each other. Neither of us said anything. Then I finished my dinner and left, and I never saw her again. What I did wasn't noble or righteous. It was calculated revenge, pure and simple. But sometimes revenge isn't about making someone suffer. It's about letting them create their own consequences. I just stepped out of the way and let Sarah choose her own destruction. She trusted Kevin over Patricia Wells. She ignored financial reality for fantasy. She chose immediate gratification over long-term planning. That's not revenge. That's just life teaching expensive lessons to people who refuse to learn them cheap. Consequences always come due, just like balloon payments.